There's something in the sky.
It's me. It's Molly.
Oh no!
Well, aren't you like some big science girl? Tell me about science.
What are people's lives like? Do they make any sense?
Hollywood is packed with billion-dollar spectacles, multiverse chaos, and nostalgia reboots. But some of the most powerful sci-fi stories already exist. They just never got the box office recognition they deserved. If these 20 sci-fi movies dropped in 2026 with today's marketing power, streaming hype, and global audience hunger for smart sci-fi, they would dominate cinemas worldwide. But before we get started, it would help me tremendously if you leave a like and subscribe to the channel. Thanks so much for your support. Starting off at number 20 is Prospect.
Why should I trust you? You're a killer.
I am indeed.
Prospect is one of those films that proves you don't need a massive budget to build a fully believable world. It tells a gritty survival story set on a toxic alien moon, where a teenage girl and her father land on a strict contract to mine valuable gems. It sounds simple, but things go wrong almost immediately. A malfunction leaves them stranded, forcing them to cross a dangerous, unfamiliar landscape on foot with limited time to escape. Along the way, they run into rival prospectors, including a standout performance from Pedro Pascal, and that's where the real tension kicks in.
You don't have a ship?
No, I don't. But you will find a way to get home if you find that buried treasure.
Every interaction feels unpredictable, like it could turn violent at any moment. The mission quickly stops being about profit and becomes a matter of survival and trust. Number 19, Coherence. Honestly, this might be the smartest low-budget sci-fi films ever made. It transforms a simple dinner party into a chaotic multiverse experience when a comet passes overhead. There are no flashy effects or big action sequences, just a group of people slowly realizing that something is very wrong. As the night unfolds, reality begins to fracture. People encounter alternate versions of themselves. Objects don't stay where they should, and no one is completely sure which version of reality they're in anymore. The film leans into confusion and paranoia without explaining everything, forcing you to piece it together on your own. It is messy at times, but that chaos is exactly what makes it work. It is messy in places, sure, but that chaos is part of the experience. This is the kind of movie that would go viral instantly, with audiences obsessed over every detail if it came out now. Number 18, Moon.
Sam Bell reporting to Central. Everything running smoothly. Over and out. Rock and roll. God bless America.
Moon is a completely different kind of sci-fi, quiet, introspective, and carried almost entirely by one performance from Sam Rockwell. The story follows an astronaut nearing the end of a long, isolated mission on the moon, where his daily routine suddenly starts to break down after a serious accident. When he wakes up and discovers someone who looks exactly like him, with the same memories, everything changes. From that point on, the film shifts into a deeply personal exploration of identity and corporate ethics without ever needing to raise its voice. It is slow and deliberately paced, which might not work for everyone, but the payoff is powerful. Number 17, Gattaca.
So began the process of becoming Jerome. Myopia is one of the most obvious signs of a disadvantaged birth.
Gattaca is easily one of the most polished films on this list, yet it still feels far ahead of its time. It presents a near-future society built around genetic perfection, where people conceived naturally are labeled invalids and pushed into lesser roles, while genetically engineered valids dominate the world's top opportunities. At the center is a man who refuses to accept that fate, so he takes on a false identity to chase a dream he was never meant to have. From that point on, the tension comes from pressure, not action, because one mistake or failed test could expose everything. It is clean, focused, and quietly powerful, and if anything, it feels even more relevant now than when it was first released. Number 16, The Andromeda Strain. Number 15, Contact. Contact goes big in scale but keeps its story deeply personal. It's about first contact with alien intelligence, but also about belief, grief, and the search for meaning. The film follows a dedicated SETI scientist played by Jodie Foster, who was inspired by her late father to spend her life scanning the skies for signals from beyond Earth. Despite constant funding cuts and skepticism from officials, she keeps going until unexpected private backing allows her research to continue. After years of silence, her team finally detects a powerful signal from space. But what follows isn't just about aliens, it's about how humanity reacts. Governments step in, politics take over, and science quickly becomes only one part of a much bigger conversation.
Why don't they just speak English?
Mathematics is the only truly universal language, Senator.
It's complicated, Ellie.
Who gets to go?
By doing this, you're willing to risk your life. You're willing to give your life.
It's thoughtful and sometimes slow, but it trusts its audience, choosing to explore big ideas instead of relying on spectacle alone. Number 14, Sunshine.
The payload to deliver to the heart of our nearest star. That star is dying.
Sunshine starts as a straightforward space mission story, but it gradually turns into something much more intense and unsettling. Directed by Danny Boyle, the film follows a crew sent on a desperate mission to reignite the dying sun, which is already a massive and ambitious concept. However, the closer they get to their destination, the more everything begins to fall apart. Not just technically, but psychologically as well. The tension slowly shifts from external problems to the mental state of the crew, and the tone changes in a way that still divides audiences. It is not always consistent, but when it works, it delivers a visually striking and emotionally heavy experience that is hard to forget. Number 13, The Wild Blue Yonder.
We traveled all the way from the outreaches of the Andromeda Galaxy. Do you have any clue of how far that is?
The Wild Blue Yonder is not your typical sci-fi movie. It feels more like a quiet, hypnotic experience. Directed by Werner Herzog and narrated by an alien played by Brad Dourif, the film blends real NASA footage with eerie underwater visuals to tell a story about a lost world. The alien describes his home planet, a distant ocean world destroyed by an ice age, and how his people came to Earth hoping to survive, only to fail and fade into the background. Meanwhile, humans discover clues tied to the Roswell incident and set out to find that same planet as a possible new home. It's slow, strange, and more about atmosphere than action. But if you enjoy thoughtful, almost dreamlike sci-fi, this one leaves a lasting impression. Number 12, Europa Report.
Check is a go.
Our craft was heading for a moon of Jupiter, known as Europa.
This one leans hard into realism, presenting itself as a recovered documentary about a failed space mission to Jupiter's moon, Europa. The crew is sent there to find signs of life beneath the ice, and everything starts off with that familiar sense of scientific optimism. But once a solar storm wipes out communication with Earth, things begin to fall apart. Repairs go wrong, people get stranded, and the mission slowly turns into a fight for survival. What makes this one work is how grounded it feels. The characters act like actual scientists, the tension builds naturally, and the silence of space becomes genuinely unsettling. It's not flashy, but it's intense in a way that creeps up on you. Number 11, Predestination.
What if I could put him in front of you, the man that ruined your life? If I could guarantee that you'd get away with it, would you kill him?
If you're more into mind-bending stories, Predestination is where things get really interesting. Starring Ethan Hawke, the film follows a time-traveling agent trying to stop a mysterious terrorist known as the Fizzle Bomber. But the real story kicks in when he meets a man with a very unusual past.
One thing this job has taught me is that truth is stranger than fiction.
I get to be a temporal agent?
If you prove yourself.
What starts as a simple conversation turns into a deeply complicated narrative involving identity, fate, and some of the wildest time loop logic you'll ever see. This is one of those movies where the less you know going in, the better. It constantly folds in on itself, revealing new layers that completely change how you see everything that came before. By the end, you're either going to be blown away or sitting there trying to piece your brain back together. Number 10, Silent Running.
Strange voyage carrying a rare cargo. The forests, the plants, the growing things doomed to extinction on Earth.
Going way back, silent running feels surprisingly relevant today. The story takes place in a future where Earth has lost all its natural ecosystems and the last forests are being preserved in massive domes floating in space. Bruce Dern plays a botanist who's been tasked with maintaining these environments until orders come in to destroy them. What follows is a quiet but powerful rebellion as he chooses to protect what's left of nature, even if it means going against everything.
We're going home! You can't blow up this forest.
It's a slow, emotional film that leans more into loneliness and morality than action. And honestly, that's what makes it hit harder. There's something deeply human about watching someone fight to preserve beauty in a world that's already given up on it. Number 9. The Quiet Earth. If you are looking for something that feels eerie and unsettling in the best way, The Quiet Earth is definitely worth your time. The story begins with a scientist who wakes up to find the world completely empty. At first, it feels surreal, almost like a dream. However, as he begins to explore and piece together what might have happened, the tone gradually shifts into something much darker and more disturbing. When he eventually encounters other survivors, the situation does not become any easier. Instead, it introduces new tensions and complications that deepen the mystery rather than resolve it. Number 8. The Man from Earth.
Surely you'll have this looked at, appraised.
Well, maybe sometime, but
Most of the film unfolds in a single room where a departing university professor makes a shocking claim that he has been alive for over 14,000 years. That is the entire premise. There are no action sequences or visual effects, just a conversation. Yet it is the way that conversation develops that makes the film so captivating. As the discussion progresses, his colleagues begin to question him, challenge his story, and gradually find themselves wondering whether he might actually be telling the truth. What starts as skepticism slowly shifts into curiosity, tension, and even disbelief. The film evolves into a fascinating blend of history, philosophy, and personal reflection. Despite its simplicity, it manages to keep you completely engaged from start to finish, proving that strong writing and ideas can be far more powerful than spectacle. Number 7. Equilibrium.
The cleric is the final line of defense. If the resistance compromises it, we are doomed.
It's real.
Burn it.
Set in a dystopian future after World War III, the story presents a society that has concluded emotions are the root cause of human conflict. As a result, all citizens are forced to take a drug that suppresses their feelings, while anything capable of stirring emotion, including art, music, and even books, is strictly forbidden and destroyed.
At last, war is but a word whose meaning fades from our understanding.
Against all odds and your own natures, you have survived!
At the center of this world is John Preston, portrayed by Christian Bale, a high-ranking enforcer who follows the system without question. However, the moment he accidentally misses a dose of the emotion-suppressing drug, he begins to feel again, and that single shift changes everything. What starts as a subtle internal awakening soon evolves into a powerful and dangerous rebellion against the system. The film is not subtle, nor does it try to be, but it delivers its themes with such intensity, style, and conviction that it ultimately becomes far more impactful and memorable than many people initially give it credit for. Number 6. Molly and Max in the Future.
It's Molly.
Molly. Oh, my science.
For something more modern and visually inventive, Molly and Max in the Future brings a completely different energy. It's set billions of years in the future, where space travel, magic, and absurdity all exist side by side.
And it was a piece of crap, like held together with bubble gum. Whoever built that seriously swindled you big time. Like you got fully...
I built it.
What?
Yeah.
The story follows two people who keep running into each other across time, space, and even different dimensions. What starts as chaos slowly turns into something more meaningful as their connection grows over the years. Underneath all the wild sci-fi concepts, it's really just a story about timing, relationships, and what it means to keep finding someone no matter how far apart life pulls you.
I think you're in a cult.
I can leave whenever I want to. I just don't want to because I'm like super happy. Are we in a cult?
Yeah.
Number 5, Infinity Chamber.
Should we get started?
For those who enjoy grounded and intense sci-fi, Infinity Chamber is a solid pick. The entire film is essentially a psychological battle between a man and an AI system controlling his prison. The twist is that he is forced to relive the same memories over and over again while trying to figure out a way to escape. It becomes less about physical survival and more about mental endurance. It is claustrophobic, tense, and surprisingly emotional for such a contained story. It also leans heavily into the fear of losing control in a world run entirely by machines. Number 4, The Final Cut.
All that you see with your eyes and all that you hear with your ears will be preserved so that it can be experienced by loved ones you leave behind.
The Final Cut explores a future where your entire life is recorded from birth to death, and nothing you do is ever truly forgotten. Robin Williams plays Alan Hakeman, a cutter whose job is to edit those raw memories into clean, comforting highlight reels shown at funerals. The catch is that he sees everything, including the good, the bad, and the things people would rather erase. As he takes on a new high-profile case, his own buried memories begin to resurface, forcing him to question not just his work, but who he really is. It is a quiet, unsettling film that leans more into psychology than action, and it asks a simple but uncomfortable question. If you could edit your life, would you tell the truth or just make it look better? Number 3, The Vast of Night.
This is WOTW Radio in Cayuga, New Mexico, and this is the news for the hour.
Sound we heard out in the desert. It was coming from thousands of feet higher than anything could climb.
The Vast of Night brings things down to a small town level. Set in the 1950s, it follows 2 teenagers who pick up a strange audio frequency that might be connected to something happening in the sky. What makes this one stand out is the atmosphere. The long takes, the quiet streets, and the slow build all work together to create this feeling that something is very wrong, even if you can't quite see it yet. It's not loud or explosive, but it pulls you in with pure tension and curiosity. And by the time everything starts to come together, you're completely locked in. Number 2, Timecrimes. Timecrimes starts off simple, almost too simple. A man spots something strange in the woods behind his house and decides to check it out. That one decision turns into a complete nightmare. After being attacked, he stumbles into a machine that sends him slightly back in time, and that's where things get messy. Now he's watching his own actions play out while trying to fix what's already gone wrong. The film quickly turns into a tight, looping puzzle where every move makes things worse. It's small, clever, and incredibly tense, proving you don't need a big budget to make time travel feel dangerous. And finally, number 1, The Road.
How many people do you think are still alive?
In the world? Not very many.
Set in a world that's already ended, it follows a father, played by Viggo Mortensen, and his young son as they travel through a bleak, dying landscape with almost nothing left. There's no grand mission here, just survival. Every day is about finding food, staying warm, and avoiding other humans who've become just as dangerous as the environment. It's quiet, heavy, and emotionally draining, but that's what makes it powerful. Beneath all the darkness, it's really a story about love, and the struggle to hold on to your humanity when the world has already lost its own. And there you have it. If you enjoyed this countdown and want more sci-fi movies, smash that like button, subscribe, turn on notifications, and join the squad.